Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Hakwadash, Barakatah. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that rule well, and peace and salutations to Yakim out there pushing this word and truth. This is the Brother I with another video, and this is on the Huffington Post, and the name of the article I'm using is Exclusive. Here's a draft of Trump's nuclear review. He wants a lot more nukes. His nuclear posture review. More nukes, more posturing. And there's our boy. In his first year in office, President Barack Obama gave a landmark address in Prague in which he famously affirmed, clearly and with conviction, America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons. The commitment to total nuclear disarmament was a major departure from the George W. Bush administration, the first time, in fact, that the United States had declared a nuclear-free world a major policy goal. Now, 8 years later, it's the Trump administration's turn to lay out its nuclear policy, and according to a pre-decisional draft of the 2008 Nuclear Posture Review obtained by the Huffington Post, Trump's Department of Defense has gone a decidedly different route. New nukes for no good reason. And I'm going to scroll up and then go to my first precept. Psalms 55 and 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. America's commitment to nuclear disarmament. But war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. And that definitely sounds like Trump right now with these nuclear missiles. And these presidents, they all follow the agenda of the elites, so it doesn't really matter what one says over the other. But they'll have, what they like to do is have the good guy, bad guy president. And you had Obama, whose words were definitely smoother than butter. He was a smooth president. And now Trump, the bad guy, with the drawn swords and war in his heart. But all in all, it was all going to happen anyway, but definitely because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is willing it. The final version of the NPR is scheduled to be released in February. You can read the draft in full at the bottom of this article, and it's about 64 pages. A Defense Department spokesperson declined to comment on the draft, saying that the agency will not discuss pre-decisional drafts of the document. In October, NBC reported that President Trump had told a gathering of high-ranking national security leaders that he wanted what amounted to a nearly tenfold increase in the U.S. nuclear arsenal. While the report doesn't nearly go that far, it does call for the development of new so-called low-yield nuclear weapons, warheads with a lower explosive force. The logic of those pushing for the development of smaller nukes is that our current nuclear weapons are too big and too deadly to ever use. We are effectively self-deterred, and the world knows it. To make sure our countries believe that to make sure other countries believe that we'd actually use nuclear force, the thinking goes, we need more low-yield nukes. But official language around nuclear weapons is slippery and euphemistic. Low yield suggests that a softer sort of weaponry, diet nukes, until you realize that the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki were technically low-yield nukes. I'm going to go to my next precept in Revelations 12 and 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And these elites and topper-level Edomites and heathens definitely do know what time it is, because they understand the scriptures. And with the chariots appearing more and more openly, and the men of the Lord on the streets preaching the downfall of this system, things are definitely heating up. So they feel like they have to create these nukes and able to combat Yahushai when he comes back, but it's not going to go down that way. Trump's NPR draft euphemizes the euphemism, referring to low-yield weapons as supplements that will enhance deterrence. The document claims that Russia is threatening to use these smaller nuclear weapons. The U.S. needs to match and deter the Russians in kind. Enhancing deterrence with non-strategic nuclear capabilities. Existing elements of the nuclear force replacement program predate the dramatic deterioration of the strategic environment. To meet the emerging requirements of U.S. strategy, the United States will now pursue select supplements to the replacement program to enhance the flexibility and responsiveness of U.S. nuclear forces. It is a reflection of the versatility and flexibility of the U.S. triad that only modest supplements are now required in this much more challenging threat environment. These supplements will enhance the deterrence by denying potential adversaries any mistaken confidence that limited nuclear employment can provide a useful advantage over the United States and its allies. For example, Russia's belief that the limited nuclear first use, potentially including low-yield weapons, can provide such an advantage is based in part on Moscow's perception that its greater number and variety of non-strategic nuclear systems provides a coercive advantage in crises and lower levels of conflict. Correcting the mistaken Russian perception is a strategic imperative. And with the U.S. so blatantly going out of its way to antagonize Russia, it goes into Revelations 12 and 8, Revelations 20 and 8, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, which is Russia, to gather them together to battle, to get that strategic imperative over them, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And Gog and Magog are going to gather a lot of people unto him for this coming World War III. What goes unmentioned is that we already have over 1,000 nuclear warheads in our arsenal with low-yield options, to say nothing of the fact that more nuclear weapons you introduce into the world, the more likely is that they'll one day be used. Making the case that we need more low-yield options is making the case that this president needs more nuclear capabilities at his disposal, said Alexander Bell, a former senior president at the State Department and current senior policy director at the Center for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation. Regardless of the fact that we have 4,000 nuclear weapons in our active stockpile, which is more than enough to destroy the world many times over, so I don't think it makes a convincing case that we somehow lack capabilities, and in fact, don't think you can make the case that this president needs any more capabilities. And it's out of your hands, Alexander Bell, because 4,000 nukes is definitely not enough, and this is all through the spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai to create these more nukes to bring about the end of this kingdom. The draft itself doesn't do all that much to convince anyone of the necessity of these low-yield weapons. One tactic it uses right up front is fear, which goes right back into Revelations 20 and 8. And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. And they're deceiving these nations, especially the people in America, of the threat by Russia and China, that they have more nukes than us and we need to be able to deter them. Which Russia, they're definitely looking to take out the U.S., but these Edomites over here are definitely playing it up way more through the spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. An evolving and uncertain international security environment. While the United States has continued to reduce the number and salience of nuclear weapons, others, including Russia and China, have moved in the opposite direction. They have added new types of nuclear capabilities to their arsenals, increasing the salience of nuclear weapons in their strategic plans, and engaged in increasingly aggressive behavior, including in outer space and cyberspace. North Korea continues its illicit pursuit of nuclear weapons and missile capabilities in direct violation of the United Nations Security Council resolutions. Iran has agreed to constraints on its nuclear program in the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Nevertheless, it retains the technological capabilities and much of the capacity necessary to develop a nuclear weapon within 1 year of a decision to do so. There now exists an unprecedented range and mix of threats, including major conventional, chemical, biological, nuclear, space and cyber threats, and violent non-state actors, these developments have produced increased uncertainty and risk. Get my next precept in Joel's 3, 9, and 10, a popular one. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, nuclear, cyber, chemical, biological, space. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I am strong, such as Iran and North Korea. So as Yakim can see, things just keep heating up, and as I like to keep saying, we're not even past the midpoint of January, so we can only hope that these events are hastened so we can get out of here much more quickly. And I hope Yakim were edified. Until next time, Shalom.